example the West Coast is of socialism and Democrat-run cities. And we have so many wonderful stories. We have needles in the park, poop on the street. It's going to be great. See you tomorrow.
Blue Ribbon, Pelham Waters, your water pro since 1949.
Do you have questions about your water? What is a whole home filter? Is my softener working or not? Can I get rid of that red stain around the sink? I'm Brian with Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters. We're here to fix problem water. We'll work with you to find the right solution for you. We've been serving the Fort Dodge area since 1949. Let us serve your water treatment needs. Sales, service, rentals. Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters, your complete water store.
Today, business happens here, and virtually anywhere. Because today, innovative companies are reinventing the way business happens. And they need people who can keep up. With the expertise and technology to get packages to over 150 million delivery points. So, who can help you deliver the future of commerce? The United States Postal Service. See why we deliver more e-commerce packages to homes than anyone at USPS.com/future.
This is Gary Rima, the voice of the UNI Panthers, and you can listen to exciting Panther sports right here on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400, KVFD.
Water may be heading for Florida. Lisa Brady, Fox News. Hurricane Dorian getting stronger as it heads northwest.
I think a lot of Florida is going to be impacted by this, not just where the storm comes on shore, but it's looking like it's going to be moving really slowly. That means a lot of people getting a lot of rain, and then we're probably talking about a pretty widespread flooding event from this.
Fox meteorologist Rick Reichmuth, the Florida governor, urging residents to prepare for widespread power outages, too. Dorian could be a Category 3 storm by tomorrow morning and possibly hit Florida as a Cat 4 Monday morning. Another case of lung illness is being linked to vaping in the state with the highest teen vaping use. Fox's Jessica Rosenthal has this live.
Lisa, Colorado Department of Public Health Dr. Tony Capello confirmed a second case of serious lung illness in their state linked to vaping.
There have been over 200 suspect cases in 22 states reported to the CDC.
Colorado Congresswoman Diana DeGette says she's introducing a bill to ban the sale of flavored nicotine products unless companies can prove they're safe, along with another bill to raise the minimum age to purchase vaping and all tobacco products from 18 to 21.
And we have a very unlikely ally in the Senate, Senator Mitch McConnell, who has the companion bill to raise the smoking age to 21 in the Senate.
DeGette says she'll introduce these bills when Congress reconvenes in 2 weeks. Lisa.
Thanks, Jessica. President Trump says James Comey should be ashamed of himself. His reaction to an inspector general's report that says the former FBI chief violated FBI rules in his handling of memos of conversations with the president. However, the Justice Department is declining to prosecute Comey, who also tweeted reaction, accusing critics, including the president, of lying about him for the past 2 years. An hour to the close on Wall Street, a big rally continues, fueled by renewed optimism about trade talks with China. The Dow's up 328. America is listening. Fox News.
I'm Nick Soboleski, a Select Quote agent with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a $300,000 group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and can't take it with him. Well, I shopped the many highly rated term life insurance companies we represent and found Ray, who is 41 and takes medication to control his cholesterol, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $27 a month. That's almost twice the coverage for less than half of what he had paid. If SelectQuote hasn't shopped for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 800-597-0315. That's 800-597-0315. 800-597-0315. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Or price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
A $20,000 reward is being offered for a couple accused of murder who escaped police in Utah.
Police say 56-year-old Blaine Barksdale and his 59-year-old wife Susan, who are considered armed and dangerous, overpowered officers and escaped a transport vehicle in Blanding, Utah, en route to Arizona, where the couple is wanted for murder. The transport van found ditched in northeastern Arizona. The couple last seen in a red GMC Sierra pickup. Arizona tags 127XTY. The U.S. Marshals offering $10,000 each, saying anyone who comes into contact with Blaine and Susan Barksdale is urged to call 911. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
An hour from now, the Pentagon will declare U.S. Space Command open for business. A ceremony President Trump will attend. It's part of a broader effort to better defend American interests in space. There was a Space Command for more than a decade before it was eliminated in 2002 as part of the government's post-9/11 reorganization. A new movie about the Man in Black will be released online.
YouTube isn't just a destination for viral videos and vloggers. The online entertainment conglomerate has been in the game of streaming originals, reruns, and films for quite a while now, and they just announced what's coming up. One of the big headlines is that YouTube will be streaming a documentary that made waves at South by Southwest about this man.
I hear the train a-comin', it's rolling around the bend.
The Gift, The Journey of Johnny Cash centers around Cash's legendary 1968 concert at California's Folsom State Prison and how that performance solidified Cash's image as an outlaw living on the fringes of society, turning him into an American icon despite his struggles with addiction. It premieres October 8th. Anna Eliopoulos, Fox News.
Meantime, Netflix is promoting its new 3-part documentary about Microsoft's Bill Gates and Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. Fort Dodge City Councilman Terry Minke was a guest on Divine's Intervention with Mike Divine on KVFD AM 1400 when asked about the recent results of the broadband feasibility survey here in Fort Dodge that were presented at Monday night's City Council meeting. Minke had this to say.
About half the people, a little over half the people, were either very dissatisfied or somewhat dissatisfied. Well, we're waiting for a lot of our businesses to participate. Only about 75 of the businesses had participated, but the numbers kind of drop off. They had 669 that had indicated that they were, talking about their internet, and then about 55 or 60 of those were outside of Fort Dodge. So those numbers were thrown out. But then when it got into the TV and the telephone, the numbers dropped. And telephone service dropped down to 205 respondents, and the TV was 432. And I asked the gentleman, I said, are we looking at TV and telephone as an option with this study? I said, why did we even look at that? And he said, well, it was just basically to find out how happy we were with it. There's a variety of services out there now that are very dependent on the internet as far as streaming services, video services. So you've got to have good, solid, reliable, dependable internet in order to use these streaming services.
There's an upcoming referendum on the November 5th City Council re-election ballot on whether the city should be able to create a municipal broadband utility or not. High school football kicks off under the lights tomorrow night, and the Alpha Media family of stations has a variety of games on the agenda. On Sunny 99.7, you can hear Greg Woods on the call as St. Edmunds travels to Panorama to open their season. That game's a 6:45 pregame with a 7 p.m. kick. Over on the Eagle 92.1, Fort Dodge will be hosting Mason City in a battle for the Decker Trophy at Dodger Stadium. Pregame 6:45, 7 p.m. kickoff. A 6:45 pregame and 7 p.m. kickoff over on the Beach 105.9 has longtime coach Brian Case leading his South Central Calhoun Titans into battle at East Sac County. You can hear veteran sportscasters Mark Williamson and Brian Peters on the call of that one. Join Dan Johnson on the brand new Central Iowa Area Showcase game on Mix 94.5 as this week's matchup features Southeast Valley hosting Hampton Dumont Cal. A 7:15 pregame with a 7:30 kick for that one. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. High of 83 this afternoon under mainly sunny skies, northwesterly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Mainly clear skies and quiet again. Tonight, lows dip down to about 52. Mainly clear tomorrow, highs around 74. Chance for scattered rain showers Saturday with highs in the upper 60s, partly cloudy Sunday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 79.
This message is for you.
The secret texter driver.
Sure, I can eat cereal while driving, driver.
The, ooh, let me check my lipstick, but not my blind spot driver.
Too often, other motorists don't see or watch for motorcycles, causing deadly crashes. So remember to always stay focused on driving and to use your turn signals, extra caution when making a left-hand turn, and to double-check blind spots. This message to safely share the road with motorcycles is brought to you by the Iowa Department of Public Safety, Governor's Traffic Safety Bureau.
Warning: if you're buried in debt you can't afford, do not let the credit card companies make you think you have to pay it all back, because you don't. What the credit card companies don't want you to know is that there's actually a way to get debt-free without paying off your entire debt or going bankrupt. If you have $10,000 or more in credit card debt, you now have the right to let us settle that debt for a fraction of what you owe. For free information, call Credit Answers at 800-970-5932. If you're struggling to pay off your debt, do not let the credit card companies make you think you have to. Call Credit Answers now for free information on how to get out of debt faster than you ever thought possible, without debt consolidation or bankruptcy. We offer a guarantee with no upfront fees, so there's no risk. For free information, visit creditanswers.com or call 800-970-5932. That's 800-970-5932.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
At AM 1400 KVFD.
That's right. I'm the Doctor of Truth, Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. What a day! Another beautiful day. All we have to do, for God's sake, is to give more power to the people. Kelly Halstead is here to do that, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. All right, yeah, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to give more power to the people, and Kelly Halstead's just the girl to do it, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing there, Kelly?
Good. How are you, Mike?
All right. Your friend Janice Valentine is on at 3:40 today, or 3:35 rather. What topic shall I discuss with Janice, your friend Janice? Her lack of golfing skills or lack of golf? You and her were pretty good golfers a couple of years ago, but it seems like you've vanished from the courses now.
Yeah, I have. I haven't even swung a club yet this year, so.
You haven't golfed all year?
Nope.
I think it's too late to get going. Then.
Yeah. I think it's over for me this season.
Yeah.
Didn't even start.
Kelly Halstead is with the Fort Dodge Growth Alliance, of course, and you're just back from Kansas City. Too early for a Chiefs game.
Yeah. No, they've already started playing preseason.
Well, preseason, but you didn't get on there for a preseason Kansas City Chiefs game.
No, but I just missed them. They were going to be at my hotel for lunch, and I was checking out.
The Chiefs team was?
Yeah.
Wow.
All these people were coming, and they had the band out there, and I couldn't lag around any longer. They were trying to get me moving. I know. They're my team. They're my buddies. Yeah, Mahomes. Woo. Yeah. Now you're getting me really fired up.
Well, Pat Mahomes is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and he's only in his, I guess this is actually his third year. We're heading into his third year, but that kid's a terrific quarterback.
I know. Unfortunately, I could be his mom.
Well, yeah.
I keep forgetting how old I am.
I watched his dad pitch for the Minnesota Twins some years ago. Yeah, I'm probably old enough to be his grandfather. But, yeah, he's a heck of a quarterback, and the Chiefs have got a decent team this year, good coaching staff. So
super fun to watch. He's just really excitable, and you just never know what he's going to do.
No, you don't. But he plays football. He's not one of those specialty quarterbacks. He plays football.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Brady, if you want to look for a technician, Tom Brady's your guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's going to stay in the pocket, he's going to read the routes, and he's going to deliver. But Mahomes, he just plays football.
Yeah.
Yeah. He goes all over the place.
What was that, the non-looking pitch that he had last year? He wasn't even looking and threw it to his guy. I can't remember who he threw it to.
But he knew where the guy was.
Yeah, absolutely.
He probably He probably saw him downfield and then turned his head to the left or right or wherever he was, and he still knew who the guy was and threw the ball.
Well, and I think
that's playground stuff, by the way.
Absolutely, and I mean it's great to see him and Travis Kelce out together and about. I've not that I rubbed elbows with them in certain places, but it's the fact that they're out and about together on Facebook or on social media, and doing those types of things outside of the game is important too, to really know your teammate and really be friends and buddies.
Okay.
Well, so, I think, Coach Halstead here.
Sure.
I'm sure I was sent. Dr. Kenny's going to be calling me for a job.
Well, I would think so. I don't know why not. You're the obvious choice, for God's sake. No. So, again, I'm going to assume you didn't go to Kansas City for
no,
Chiefs.
Not for the Chiefs. No, not this time. No, I was there for the Kansas City Animal Health Corridor. It's
Kansas City Animal Health Corridor.
Yeah, they really market themselves as having the largest assets of animal health in the world, essentially, going from the corridors, some essentially defined as Columbia to Manhattan. And and north to St. Joe and in the Kansas City area, and so there are a lot of headquarters there. Animal health, not Animal House that somebody thought I said one day. Animal health industry in the Kansas City area, and they have quite a few headquarters down there in that area. They have a lot of good animal health universities and labs and things like that. I mean, obviously we have the best in Ames, but they might have the second best. Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, they have a big celebration. Monday night they had a big dinner and a great speaker. I got to sit with people from companies like Elanco, Zoetis, Merck, and a couple engineering firms. One that's actually on our is a member of our organization, as well as Elanco, of course. But so it's really great networking and seeing people. I got to see the owner of AML Riverside, or Argenta.
Sure.
He was in from New Zealand and was down there. Yeah, down there at the conference, and then came up here for a quick visit, and is back out on the road. So it's really a great time for me to really network with the right people. I don't know if you know, but about
I never know anything because nobody ever tells me anything.
Well, here I am telling you.
Thank you.
From our manufacturing sector, our GRP. For Webster County, 40
GRP,
gross regional product.
Okay.
So what makes up our economy?
Okay.
And so in the manufacturing sector, the largest is animal health or pharmaceuticals, and they make up 45% of our GRP, manufacturing GRP. So they're a big deal. I mean, this is a big industry for us. Creates a lot of great jobs. A lot of jobs and high value products that are happening here. So. It's an important industry to continue to watch.
Tell us your position over at the Growth Alliance again, and what your job is, and just in case anybody forgot.
Sure.
Which they probably did.
Yeah. I am the Economic Development Director for the Greater Fort Dodge Growth Alliance.
So you're on the road a lot.
Oh, not as much as I used to be. But you could ask Dennis that. Dennis would say disagree with me, but yeah.
I think Dennis is retired. He just hasn't told anybody yet. Mr. Hunter and Fisher out here.
Yeah. Well, I have a meeting with him here in a few minutes. So.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So he's going to be back at work.
All right.
I think he gave a speech to Sertoma, noon Sertoma.
Oh, he did.
And,
That's a tough crowd. That's Terry Menke's crowd.
Yeah.
Sertoma. Yeah. He owns them. Menke does.
Yeah.
He does. He's been. I think he's been Sertoma governor and Fort Dodge Club president. He's been everything with Sertoma. Yeah. He's Mr. Sertoma.
Yeah. He and Jill went out and spoke to them, and then we also this morning we had a meeting with our counterparts over at the city, which we do every Thursday, and so we've been pretty busy.
Was Bemrick there?
No, he's not usually
not
there.
Not going to be here today either, the little sucker.
No, it's just the business affairs group that comes over.
Business affairs group.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, talk about all the projects going on in Fort Dodge. So we're well coordinated, and we, are understanding what's on everybody's plate. So.
Galway's a good town. It's kind of a southern anchor there as far as economic development goes in Webster County.
Mm-hmm.
But the big news here is that due to President Trump's action on RINs, on the RIN waivers, that a Poet biorefinery in Indiana is closed, affecting hundreds of jobs.
Right.
And they're a little nervous, I suppose, at Poet down in Gowrie. Do we need to go to Washington and start whipping somebody's butt there to get things straightened up a little bit? Or what do we need to do? Because I'm ready to get on a plane, and I got my shoes on.
You have to take your shoes off before you get on. Yeah.
No, I got my big old steel-toed shoes on, and I'm ready to kick somebody in the buttocks.
Yeah, no, I did send off an email to the plant manager down there. I haven't heard back from him yet about, what's going to be happening in Gowrie and with the plant there. But, yeah, I mean, obviously we have helped lobby for the RINs and the RFS in the past, having also, asking our membership to help write letters and to our Congress people. And we have done that in the past. There isn't really a concerted effort right now to do that.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
Usually Poet's kind of the one leading that way, and they've been kind of silent this year about it.
No kidding.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously we're the largest ethanol producer in the nation.
Yeah.
The state of Iowa, as in the collective we. So there's a lot of corn and a lot of farmers that depend on the ethanol industry to purchase their corn.
We could really use a congressman who's got a committee assignment. Steve King was in here on Monday. And I've always liked Congressman King, but come on, man, get a committee assignment, and we need a little help here.
Yeah.
I thought he would have some sway with the president, but maybe not.
Yeah. No, I missed him. I was, like I said, it was in Kansas City. I know he stopped by our office and.
Did he?
Yep. Yeah, I know Dennis and our staff was there with him talking.
Well, Congressman King assured me he was going to get his committee seats back soon.
Well, that's
so
good.
I hope that's true for situations like this. I mean, the president is obviously being influenced to grant these really specious RIN waivers, and the closure of a plant in Indiana is part of the result, and that's not a good thing. We don't need Poet and Gowrie closing, that's for sure, or cutting back either.
Right.
Because, again, can't get the waiver. What else is going on in the wonderful world of economic development in Webster County there, Kelly?
Well, you talk about Gowrie. there really is going Gowrie. We work with them. The Growth Alliance works with the Gowrie Development Commission down there, and Jill and I both go down there on a monthly basis. I go actually twice a month to work on some housing issues that they have, and image issues too for their downtown. And it's really been fun to.
They're having personal image problems down there?
No, just the downtown. We helped them put together a program, a downtown facade program, so that the city funded a pot of money for a grant program, or it's a 50-50 grant forgivable loan for the fixing up of the downtown and the facades of the downtown.
Okay.
But I mean, if you think about what has happened in Gowrie in the last 18 months maybe, they have a new grocery store owner. They have, I want to say, 3 new shops, small shops downtown. One has 2 shops in one. A person bought a vacant building and rebuilt that into a nice little home decor store, and then a clothing store on top. There's a new quilting store down there. Marv's has been sold and has a new owner as well. And so there's a lot of.
What did Marv's do?
They're a bar and restaurant,
right.
yeah. And so that has been sold, and they have new owners in there now too. So it's like, and then the old Casey's was donated by Casey's to the downtown, or to the city, and the city was able to sell off that property. And I think that's going to be a car wash.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're constructing it right now. They're in the process of constructing it.
I always lived 20 years in the past, but I don't think Gowrie has a car dealership anymore. Lee Benson used to be down there, General Motors, and there, of course, Jacobson Ford was down there, but they've been, Jacobson, I know, has been closed a long time.
Mackey was the last one.
Mackey was the last one?
Yeah, and they closed probably 2 years ago, maybe 3.
Mackey Gowrie.
Yep.
Gowrie.
And so the school actually purchased that facility, or their their shop there.
I think Mackey still is doing pretty well over there in Lake City.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they opened and closed since I've been here. So within the last 7 years, they opened and closed. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so Marv's, yeah, I remember Marv's.
Yeah, it's a nice little bar and restaurant there. It's great for the community to have that in town.
You got to have one.
Yeah.
You got to have a little place where people can go.
Yeah, and they have some outdoor seating that they kind of fixed up about a couple years ago, and so I think they're getting ready for big ribbon cutting down there for their reopening.
Well, that's
their
pretty good.
New ownership. So yeah, there's a lot of great stuff, and of course, Heartland Bank built a brand new bank down there, and it's absolutely beautiful. They put a community room attached to it so that the community can use a larger room for anniversaries or weddings or just general meetings and things like that.
Okay.
It's very nice. Very nice.
So Plounce is working today.
He is. Like I said, I have a meeting here in about a half an hour with him. And
Plounce is one of those guys, I got to ask him to bring me an elk head from somewhere.
I'm sure Beth would be happy to.
You suppose he's got enough around the house?
Oh, I'm sure there is. I think I might have accused him of being a hoarder the other day. A head hoarder.
Okay. Is there anything else?
I don't have
Okay,
anything
all
else.
right. Kelly Halstead has been with us. She's with the Ford Dodge Growth Alliance. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge.
Thanks, Mike.
The cost of retaliatory tariffs. Hello, everyone. I'm Mark Dorenkamp with Managing for Profit on Brownfield. A new report from CoBank looks at who is taking the brunt of tariff retaliation as the Trump administration wages trade wars with China, Mexico, and Canada. Unfortunately for the U.S. farmer, CoBank's Tanner Emke says the producer of the agricultural commodity, not the importing country or its consumers, are paying the highest price. More after this.
They say to really know a man, you have to walk a mile in his boots. Well, my channel seedsman has logged more miles than I can count in mine. Every spring, we hit my fields together at the first sight of green. 6 weeks later, he's out here again, checking roots, stalks, soil like they were his own. As crops grow, so does his commitment to making sure there's nothing overlooked. Nutrients, weed control, pests, disease. He gets an agronomist to weigh in whenever we need a second opinion. The whole time using the latest technology to document where we've been and decide where we're going. Wheels always turning. And come harvest, we celebrate in the cab. Him working away, making plans for next season. That, my friends, is what they call seedsmanship at work. Look, anybody can sell you seed. Only a Channel seedsman gives you everything you need to make the most of it. Find yours at channel.com/boots. Always read and follow grain marketing and all of their stewardship practices and pesticide label directions.
Tanner Emke, manager of CoBank's research division, Knowledge Exchange, says they recently analyzed the impact of retaliatory tariffs on grain, animal protein, dairy, and specialty crop exports.
And our team of economists found some interesting things with what's happening in the trade war. And that fact is that it's the U.S. farmer who oftentimes ends up paying for the retaliatory tariff on U.S. products. So, for instance, if we are moving pork into Mexico and the Mexican government retaliates in the trade war with tariffs on U.S. pork, it's not necessarily the Mexican consumer who pays that retaliatory tariff on the import. It's actually the U.S. exporter, and they pay that by lowering their export price to make it competitive into that market to account for that tariff. And then that lower price ultimately backs up the supply chain, or backs into the supply chain all the way back to the U.S. farmer, who ends up gets paid a lower price for their hogs.
Emke says a key takeaway for farmers is who has the bargaining power.
I'll use sorghum as an example. There was a 25% retaliatory tariff in China on U.S. sorghum, but the value of exports of sorghum to China dropped 100%. And what did that do to sorghum prices in the United States? I mean, sorghum prices just cratered following that because China is such a huge huge market. So across the board, what's the takeaway here? The farmer's going to suffer financially when prices drop in response to these retaliatory tariffs. So by and large, I think we can make some safe assumptions here that it's the U.S. Farmer who's bearing the brunt of these tariffs, and going forward will continue to bear the brunt. If the trade war continues, our bargaining power is going to decline even further because these trading routes are going to be rerouted away from the United States, thereby decreasing our bargaining power, thereby decreasing the value of what farmers are paid for their products when it's the U.S. exporter who has to pay for the retaliatory tariffs.
That's Tanner Emke with CoBank. With Managing for Profit, I'm Mark Dorenkamp on Brownfield.
When severe weather threatens, keep it here for the Severe Weather Advisor. Brought to you by Creative Signs and Graphics, Fort Dodge. For signs, decals, vehicle graphics, magnets, logos, customized documents, and more. If your business needs it, Creative Signs and Graphics can make it. And a stitch above the rest embroidery, Fort Dodge. Step out in style with quality brands, timely turnaround, and professional service. A stitch above the rest. Embroidery professionals worth finding. Remember, when severe weather threatens, stay with your friends on KVFD.
Hi, I'm Jen. I'm a dog person.
I'm Clara, and I'm a cat person.
As a dog person, I wear Bobs for Dogs from Skechers because with every pair sold, Skechers makes a donation to the Petco Foundation to help save sheltered dogs.
As a cat person, I wear Bobs because they've already saved over 240,000 sheltered pets, including cats.
But I like that you can find Bobs at over 600 Petco stores.
I prefer to buy them online at Skechers.com.
Let's just agree that we both like Bobs.
Agreed.
Bobs for Dogs from Skechers. Available at Petco, Skechers, and wherever stylish shoes are sold.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. Fort Dodge City Councilman Terry Minke was a guest on Divine's Intervention with Mike Divine on KVFD AM 1400. When asked about the recent results of the broadband feasibility survey here in Fort Dodge that were presented at Monday night's City Council meeting, Minke had this to say.
About half the people, a little over half the people, were either very dissatisfied or somewhat dissatisfied. Well, we're waiting for a lot of our businesses to participate. Only about 75 of the businesses had participated, but the numbers kind of drop off. They had 669 that had indicated that they were, talking about their internet, and then about 55 or 60 of those were outside of Fort Dodge. So those numbers were thrown out. But then when it got into the TV and the telephone, the numbers dropped. And telephone service dropped down to 205 respondents, and the TV was 432. And I asked the gentleman, I said, are we looking at TV and telephone as an option with this study? I said, why did we even look at that? And he said, well, it was just basically to find out how happy we were with it. There's a variety of services out there now that are very dependent on the internet as far as streaming services, video services. So you've got to have good, solid, reliable, dependable internet in order to use these streaming services.
There's an upcoming referendum on the November 5th City Council re-election ballot on whether the city should be able to create a municipal broadband utility or not. High school football kicks off under the lights tomorrow night, and the Alpha Media family of stations has a variety of games on the agenda. On Sunny 99.7, you can hear Greg Woods on the call as St. Edmunds travels to Panorama to open their season. That game's a 6:45 pregame with a 7 p.m. kick. Over on the Eagle 92.1, Fort Dodge will be hosting Mason City in a battle for the Decker Trophy at Dodger Stadium. Pregame 6:45, 7 p.m. kickoff. A 6:45 pregame and 7 p.m. kickoff over on the Beach 105.9 has longtime coach Brian Case leading his South Central Calhoun Titans into battle at East Sac County. You can hear veteran sportscasters Mark Williamson and Brian Peters on the call of that one. Join Dan Johnson on the brand new Central Iowa Area Showcase game on Mix 94.5 as this week's matchup features Southeast Valley hosting Hampton-Dumont Cal. A 7:15 pregame with a 7:30 kick for that one. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. High of 83 this afternoon under mainly sunny skies, northwesterly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Mainly clear skies and quiet again. Tonight, lows dip down to about 52. Mainly clear tomorrow, highs around 74. Chance for scattered rain showers Saturday with highs in the upper 60s, partly cloudy Sunday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 79.
This is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge 233. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. Margaret Field has died. Services for Margaret Field were this morning at Gunderson Funeral Home at 11 o'clock. Mary Lou Imus has passed away. Her service was at 2 o'clock today at St. Thomas Episcopal Church. Of course, Benny Harvey tragically died at the age of 23 up at Lake Okoboji. His service will be at 10:30 in the morning at the Sacred Heart Church here in town. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. 2:34 at AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge, with a look at the closing market report. Here's Dwayne Murley.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. September corn down 3 cents at $3.59 3/4. December up a quarter penny to close at $3.71 1/4. March up 1.5 cents at $3.83 1/4. May up 1.5 at $3.90 3/4. September soybeans up 3.5 at $8.56 1/4. November up 2 3/4 at $8.68 1/2. January up 2.5 at $8.81 1/2. March up 2 cents at $8.94. September wheat closed down 2.5 cents at $4.69 3/4. Soybean meal down $2 a ton at $2.92. August live cattle up 57 cents at $105.65. October up 60 at $99.80. In the feeder cattle, August unchanged at $138.75. September up 55 cents at $133.40. October lean hogs up $1.40 to close at $64.90. December up $1.95 at $65.65, and February up $1.82 at $73.05. I'm Dwayne Murley.
Acre to acre, year to year, generation to generation. Nobody scrutinizes performance like you do. And acre to acre, year to year, generation to generation. The consistent performance of Asgrow brand soybeans helps to keep your profitability out in front. Offering a suite of tailored integrated solutions and 100% exclusive genetics for strong yield potential. Plus the Roundup Ready Extend crop system, the #1 soybean system planted by farmers. Featuring XtendiMax herbicide with Vapor Grip technology to control more weeds than any other soybean system, so you can spray your fields with confidence. Ask your dealer how much further you can grow when Asgrow leads the way. XtendiMax herbicide with Vapor Grip technology is a restricted use pesticide. Always read and follow IRM where applicable, grain marketing, and all other stewardship practices and pesticide label directions. Check with your state pesticide regulatory agency for specific restrictions in your state.
By shopping at the Keon Central, you can help victims of sexual assault, domestic violence, trafficking, stalking, homicide, and other violent crimes. Proceeds from your purchases support the local shelter for adult and child victims who are fleeing from violence. The Keon Central is where great deals can be found on quality items that are donated by the generous supporters of the Domestic Sexual Assault Outreach Center. You can also help by donating items to the Keon Central, located at 1030 Central Avenue, Fort Dodge. Open Monday through Friday, 10 to 5.
Hi, I'm Jamie Brundage, owner of Historic Bruce Funeral Home. When you're planning the memorialization of your loved one, you're telling their story and sharing special memories with your family and friends. At Historic Bruce Funeral Home, we're proud to help you celebrate the life of your loved one, and we're here to guide you with your selections as we help you and your family say goodbye in a way that's right for you. Our staff is committed to compassionate care and attention to detail. Historic Bruce Funeral Home, Fort Dodge. Online at brucesfuneralhome.com.
That's right, baby. Don't let your love start slipping away. I'll be so disappointed if your love starts slipping away. Because I need love. God knows now more than ever. Come on! Okay, that's probably enough. I just happen to like that song, and I felt like listening to it for a little bit here today, but really this is talk radio. I'm not kidding. And if you have a question or comment or something you'd like to say in the air, let the world know. And believe me, the world wants to know what you have to say. They're curious as to what you're thinking. So, 515-955-1400. 515-955-1400. Yeah, Fort Dodge Senior High School versus Mason City Mohawks tonight at Dodger Stadium. And you can hear that game, by the way, on 92.1 FM. That's the Eagle, of course. At 7 o'clock at St. Edmunds at Panorama. This is the time of week we go to Iowa City for someone with the Iowa Policy Project. And we're going to do that right now. Good afternoon. You're on the air. Who am I speaking with?
Natalie Veldhaus.
Natalie Veldhaus. Have we spoken on the air before, Natalie?
We sure have.
I think that we have. Natalie's with the Iowa Policy Project, a group in Iowa City that does research that they hope will affect public policy. A fantasy, as far as I'm concerned, because really, what good is reality when we're talking politics? I think we're all in agreement here. But Natalie is here to talk about wage growth because Mike Owen knows that I go off about the cheap price of labor in the state of Iowa. So he sent Natalie today to listen to me rant. But so I appreciate that, Natalie. We are approaching Labor Day, and I have a piece here that's on my Facebook page right now from the Iowa Policy Project. It's Iowa Policy Points. It says illusory and elusive economic strength. And what do you mean by that, Natalie?
Sure. We're talking about, this Labor Day. We're really thinking about the labor movement and celebrating Iowa workers, and the way that IPP is doing that is by looking at Iowa's economic recovery over the past 10 years since the Great Recession. And what we mean by that is when we're looking at wages, wage growth, job growth, family security, and tax fairness, it's really not quite the picture that we're hoping for. So I can dive into some more pieces of those, but wages, like we talked about last time, wages have been stagnating for a long time, and the buying power of the minimum wage is, not what it used to be, and it's impacting Iowans.
I'd say it's impacting Iowans quite a bit. Of course, there was an unusual alliance a number of years ago. Ronald Reagan and Bill Clinton got together and killed unions. And I don't know the way back now. Bernie Sanders seems to be the only one who's talking about bringing back unions, but I don't know how he's going to do it. We have way too many, undocumented immigrants willing to do difficult muscle jobs for a lot less. And that was the heart and soul of the unionized workforce in the private sector in Iowa. I don't know how that's going to come back. The Republicans will fight it too hard, for one thing. By the way, here's a hypothesis I have, Natalie, and I want you to respond to this. Mm-hmm. I think capitalism in the United States were built on near slave labor. I continue to think that the economy in Iowa, especially, is built on very cheap labor, and that's what the Republicans really care about. You can talk about guns and abortion and all these things. I'm not saying nobody cares about them. What they really care about is that right to work law and cheap labor. What do you think?
Right. Well, what we hear is that we see research that shows that, increase in migrant employment really uncovers employers who are willing to exploit workers' immigration status. And this is bad news for, migrants and U.S. workers, and puts a downward pressure on wages. So that's a big problem for everyone. And we have employers that, aren't paying wages that are allowing Iowans to get by, and we see worker protections being eroded. So it's just not a very good situation for workers all around.
No, it isn't. I hold up Fort Dodge as an example. There's many other examples around the state of Iowa. We had 2 unionized packing plants here in town until the early 1980s, and we were a prosperous town. Ronald Reagan went directly after the unions. He broke most private sector unions, we've had real poverty in our county ever since. Right. We will not recover that prosperity in the near future.
Right, and that's some of the things we were talking about last time I was on air. If we look at union membership declining at the same time that income inequality is rising, that's really no coincidence. and just how important bargaining power is for making sure that worker productivity that continues to climb the profits of that are being shared with workers, and that's really not what we're seeing in recent decades.
Do Iowa workers pay a greater share of their income in taxes than in those in higher paid occupations?
Right. So yes, lower income Iowans are paying a larger share of their income on state and local taxes than higher income Iowans, because Iowa's tax system is regressive on the whole, meaning that lower income folks are paying more as a percentage of their income. So that's something that IPP has been talking about for a long time, because many of our taxes are regressive, which means that they impact low-income families harder. Things like property taxes and sales taxes are regressive, whereas our income tax is progressive, so higher income people are paying a larger share of their income on income taxes. But on the whole, it's bleaker for lower-income families.
Is Iowa state and local spending as a share of personal income, has that remained unchanged? It looks that way from your report here.
Yeah, so if we're looking at state and local spending that the government's doing, so that is taking up pretty much the same share of personal income over the past 10 years. It really isn't growing. Yeah, that's what we're looking at.
Oh, that's great. What do you mean when you say that Iowa has a job deficit?
Job deficit. So that's when we're looking at the number of jobs that are needed in Iowa if we wanted to fully recover from the jobs lost from the Great Recession. And that's when we're taking population growth into account. So if we wanted to fully recover jobs from the hit we took from the recession, we're about 40,000 jobs less than we need to be. And job growth really has been pretty slow in Iowa for a while now, even though we're seeing low unemployment. And people like to talk about that, but, with our wages and seeing people involuntarily having multiple part-time jobs, what does that really look like on the whole for Iowans?
Well, that looks like a merciless system of exploitation, doesn't it, Natalie? That looks like a ruthless and merciless system of exploitation. It kind of goes back to what I was talking about a little earlier about the entire country being built on the idea of very, very cheap labor, if not slave labor. This has to be faced. Every time I say that or somebody says that, well, you're a socialist or a communist or some nonsense like that. And that's just a way to avoid talking about exploitation, ruthless exploitation, in a lot of cases.
Well, I think at the Iowa Policy Project, we have this wild idea that if someone's working full-time, they should be able to get ahead and, meet their basic needs. And we're seeing that that's not a reality for many Iowa families. So we have some ideas for different policies, that could really improve that for Iowans. It's not looking very good.
It's not looking that great, is it? It really isn't. But Natalie Veldhuis is our guest, and she's with the Iowa Policy Project. And we're talking about how badly workers get screwed in the state of Iowa. Are there any workers out there listening right now that are getting ruthlessly screwed? Hold up your hand, please. Let me see it. Yeah. And by the way, I'm on YouTube, and I'm holding up my hand. 1400 KVFD. Just go to YouTube, 1400 KVFD. I'm holding up my hand in solidarity with those who believe they're being ruthlessly screwed, because that's just the way it is. That is just the way it is. And how do we compare to other states in this regard?
Yeah, that's a good question. So if we're looking at wages, Iowa is a really low-wage state. I mean, it has lower wages compared to the Midwest median and even the U.S. So that's something that could certainly be addressed through public policy. I would say on the whole, there is a greater national trend that the value that workers are creating for the economy continues to rise, but compensation, wages really aren't matching that increase in prosperity that are being captured in business profits. So that's happening nationally, but also happening in the state of Iowa.
No, that's right. I think you've identified the problem very well. What's the solution? Is there any solution to these sorts of problems? Can you recommend anything?
Right. Well, we talk about things like increasing wages so that they're reflecting worker productivity and also the cost of living, working on tax fairness so that lower income Iowans aren't paying a larger share of their income on taxes, things around family security, just making sure that we're adding good jobs to the Iowa economy where, people who are working full time, are making enough, but also, have benefits and have things like retirement security, so protecting those different pieces, and other work support programs that we have in the state. Those are a lot of our, the things we've been talking about for a while.
Yeah, quite a while.
Right.
Quite a while. Every now and then, David Osterberg and I and Mike Owen, as a matter of fact, we're exasperated. We keep talking and talking and talking, and nothing's ever changed. Nothing has ever really changed. I mean, the Republicans will keep talking God and guns, and that works for me, as a matter of fact. And I don't know what the hell the Democrats are about anymore. I just don't even know. But there doesn't seem to be better days for workers ahead, I can tell you that. I don't know. Nobody's come up with I hear from the national Democratic presidential aspirants that they're going to do this, that, or the other thing, but we'll see. We'll see. I mean, they're part of the globalist class as well, and they keep saying that there's going to be something done about those left behind by globalization, but that's been said for a long, long time now. I think Bill Clinton was even talking about that when he was still president. But nothing, Natalie. Zip nada.
That's right. What are you seeing? What do you think are the solutions for your community?
The solutions for my community?
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's the solution that I have. I'm going to propose it to Randy Feenstra or Steve King or whoever else will listen to me. How about we get rid of the right to work law? Oh, my God! Did I say that? I'm a commie. A godless commie, godless monolithic communism. And I think collective bargaining should be mandated by law.
Right.
But what are the Democrats actually doing down there? The Democratic Party is usually who we look to carry that flag. But what are they doing there? They're losing the battle for public employees. That's how ineffective the Democratic Party has been for a number of years. Not only did they watch the private sector jobs go down the drain, now the public sector workers are going down the drain. And I don't see any real change coming soon. I don't know who's going to beat Kim Reynolds. I don't know who's going to beat Grassley or Ernst, frankly. The Democrats are huffing and puffing like it's going to get done, but I doubt it. I really doubt it. Because what they stand for is not improving the lives of people. They talk about some vague morality that they have concerning immigrants and oppressed communities and blah, blah, blah. And I would say there would be no oppressed communities if we simply got rid of the right to work law and had collective bargaining for all.
Right.
Because people who are who can feed their children and have a decent home and some hope for the future don't see themselves as oppressed because they're not oppressed. That little solution right there would get rid of the oppression that a lot of us feel. What do you think? Right to work? Should we go storm Des Moines, go storm the halls of the state legislature? Because I'll tell you, the ones who'd want to get us out of there would be the Democrats. They don't want to hear that.
Right. I mean, there are a number of states who have right-to-work laws, and, the changes with collective bargaining that have happened recently. I think that IPP would agree that those are not putting workers ahead and, securing different things that workers need. And in all of this, I really think about like real workers in the state of Iowa. I think about people like my uncle, who is a Teamster out of Local 828 out of Mason City, who is a welder for Iowa Mold Tooling, and just thinking about, what does this really mean for Iowans in terms of, being able to afford basic needs and really participate in your community and all of those different things. This weekend we're going to be celebrating workers in the labor movement, and our message is that the economy is looking kind of bleak in Iowa for workers in terms of job growth and wage growth and things like that. But there are other successes going on within the labor movement in Iowa. It's not all doom and gloom, but we really think that we can be doing better by workers by, securing wages and retirement dignity and different things like that really don't seem too crazy.
Well, as you picked up the couple of times you talked to me, I'm a complete pessimist when it comes to these sort of things, because I think the Democrats are as hooked on corporate money as the Republicans ever were, and corporate money wants cheap labor, and that's what they're going to get, period, end of story. The Democrats will continue to talk about transgender surgery and all these other idiotic things, but what we really need is, again, a decent standard of living for our people, and reversing the decay in some of our towns across Iowa, like Fort Dodge or Webster City, who lost Webster City Products not long ago. All those jobs went to Mexico. We have to stop making it easy for companies to leave the United States, but nobody's doing it. Everybody talks about it, but nobody's doing it. So, and I still don't know what I don't have a lot of faith that, again, that's what the Republicans are about. You put it all aside. You put everything else aside. What they really care about is cheap labor. That's what they care about. Because that's what their primary constituents, which would be the business lobby, want. They don't want, the last thing they want is workers with any power whatsoever. And we turn to the Democratic Party for relief from that reality, and what the hell do we get? Nothing. Really. I mean, nothing. We get nothing from them at all. And they're scratching their heads like, why do you keep voting for the Republicans? Well, at least the Republicans bring jobs to our state, low-paying jobs as they may be, but there are those who don't want to stay in Iowa. And if the only way to stay in Iowa is to take a $12 an hour job and work 60 hours a week, I guess there's a lot of folks willing to do that.
Right, it's tough in Iowa because we see a skills gap where, there are some jobs available where people might not have the training needed to get those jobs, and some other things that we'll look at is, are we investing in our future workforce? Are we investing in, schools? Are we making sure that, workers have health care and different pieces like that? Because I think that those factors are really important for attracting and maintaining businesses, and really just the strength of our workforce overall. So those are other things that we're always keeping an eye on.
So I'd become a collective bargaining state. I'd get rid of the right to work law, and I would guarantee education through the community college level. So if you wanted to be a welder, you wouldn't have to go into debt to be a welder. If you wanted to learn how to do body repair, you wouldn't have to go into a lot of debt to do that either. I'm a little tired of this pull yourselves up by the bootstraps nonsense. We need an educated workforce. We need a trained workforce. And that is something 100 years ago we agreed would be the responsibility of the state. We gave up on illiteracy, I thought, around the turn of the 20th century. And we agreed in the early 20th century that young people needed to read and write and be able to do basic math. Sometime later, we agreed that high school would be a good idea. High school graduation would be a good idea. We even went through a time where getting an undergraduate degree would be a great idea. Now we're at a point where we need plumbers, we need welders, we need electricians, we need all those people, and there are people willing to pay them, but we're still stuck back in the 1930s, where we don't want to pay to teach somebody after high school. No, they should pull themselves up by their bootstraps. I'm tired of hearing that in Iowa, since so few of the very wealthiest people in Iowa actually pulled themselves up by their bootstraps.
Right. Have you ever tried to pull yourself up by your bootstraps? I heard that it's not actually possible.
No, I don't think it's possible, and I'm too mellow for that anyway, really. I'm too manly.
I'd probably fall over.
I probably would. A lot of people that say that are sometimes in the ag industry and Franklin Roosevelt's programs after the Great Depression saved Grandpa's farm, that they're still farming. So I don't want to hear this pull yourself up by your bootstraps crapola. Okay? Nancy Veldhouse has been our guest. She's with the Iowa Policy Project. Great to talk with you, Natalie. I hope I let you get your points across.
Oh, yeah.
Because, again, Mike Owen knew what he was doing when he put you on the air with me. Because I was going to go off.
Great. He set me up, but that's okay.
Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you.
All right. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Yeah, we need an educated workforce. We need an educated workforce, and quit trying to pile up a bunch of debt on these kids. Ugh. It's 2:59. The news is next. Then Dr. Lee Heeb at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. We'll talk about, I don't know if you're ready for this or not. We're going to talk about the feces problem in California and some of the big liberal cities that have welcomed homeless and illegal immigrants. They're using the public parks and the city streets for urinals and public toilets. Some of our most beautiful liberal cities are nothing more in parts of those cities than toxic dumps, for God's sake, of human waste. 3 o'clock, KVFD, Fort Dodge, Iowa.
From tuning an engine to replacing a fuse, you can learn it all under the hood. Heard every Saturday afternoon from 2 till 4 on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD, Fort Dodge.
Storm prep kicks into high gear. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. Long lines in South Florida to gas up and cash up as forecasters warn Hurricane Dorian could hit Florida Monday morning as a Category 4 storm, the potential for widespread power outages.
Fuel up now, because when the power goes out, the gas pumps don't work, and also credit cards won't work anywhere when the shop reopens, a business reopens. That's why people are also lined up at banks right now and ATM machines getting cash.
Fox's Phil Keating in Miami. Flooding, also a major concern. Right now, the storm's still some 300 miles east of the Bahamas. The Justice Department says former FBI Chief James Comey will not face federal charges for his handling of memos of conversations with the president. But an inspector general's report says Comey did violate FBI rules and set a dangerous example by using a friend to leak one memo to the media. Both Comey and the president reacting. Fox's John Decker is live at the White House.
Following the release of the IG report from the Department of Justice, the White House press secretary in a statement writing, James Comey is a proven liar and leaker because Comey shamefully leaked information to the press in blatant violation of FBI policies. The nation was forced to endure the baseless, politically motivated 2-year witch hunt. The statement concludes Comey disgraced himself and his office to further a personal political agenda. Comey earlier tweeting, and to all those who've spent 2 years talking about me going to jail or being a liar and a leaker, ask yourselves why you still trust people who gave you bad info for so long, including the president. Lisa?
John, President Trump tweeting his own reaction to the report, writing that perhaps never in the history of our country has someone been so thoroughly disgraced and excoriated as James Comey. On Wall Street, back-to-back rallies. The Dow up 326. America is listening to Fox News.
When you fire up a John Deere 1 Series tractor, you can tackle the job without wrestling the attachments. Hook up everything from a front loader to a drive-over mower deck in no time, so you can haul gravel, cut grass, or do any job in between. Because when things just click, work just gets done. And now get a 1 Series for just $99 a month at your nearest participating John Deere dealer. Nothing runs like a Deere. Run with us. Search John Deere 1 Series for more. 0% annual percentage rate. For additional cost information, please call toll-free 855-633-2315.
Summer's ending, and savings are back in business with Dell's Labor Day sale. Small businesses can save up to 40% on select business computers with Intel Core processors, plus free shipping on everything, including a wide selection of thousands of top-brand electronics. Give our specially trained small business technology advisors a call. They can help you find just the right tech to fit your business with Labor Day savings. Visit Dell.com/business deals or call 877-BUY-DELL. That's 877-BUY-DELL.
Second homicide confirmed at a VA hospital in West Virginia, one of nearly a dozen deaths that remain under investigation.
The finding comes after the body of Air Force veteran George Nelson Shaw was also exhumed and was found to have 4 injection sites, 2 on the left arm, 1 on his right arm, and 1 on his right thigh, according to USA Today. The paper reports the family was notified last month that each needle mark contained traces of insulin. Shaw did not have diabetes. His family told the paper that over the course of a few weeks, he had gone from reasonably good health, actually going bowling, to being admitted to hospice care at the VA hospital. Insulin injections into a non-diabetic can cause hypoglycemia and death.
Fox's Doug McElway. This after the body of an 82-year-old Army vet was exhumed and found to have an insulin injection site. A person of interest who no longer works at the hospital has been identified. The FBI and the VA's Inspector General are investigating a new effort to curb the devastation in the Amazon. Brazil's president, who's been criticized for his handling of Amazon fires, signing a ban today on most legal fires used for land clearing for 60 days. Getting a cracked iPhone screen fixed might be easier now.
Apple is launching a new product repair program where independent businesses can fix products just like the company's authorized service providers. As iPhone sales decline and people are hanging on to their phones longer, Apple is trying to ramp up its services business. The tech giant will be selling tools in part to independent phone repair shops, but they need to have an Apple-certified technician on hand. Repairs will be limited to products already out of warranty, and customers within warranty repairs will still need to visit an Apple store or one of more than 5,000 authorized service providers, including Best Buy.
Fox's Hillary Barsky. Again, the Dow up 326. The S&P and the NASDAQ also gaining more than 1%. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. Fort Dodge City Councilman Terry Minke was a guest on Divine's Intervention with Mike Divine on KVFD AM 1400. When asked about the recent results of the broadband feasibility survey here in Fort Dodge that were presented at Monday night's City Council meeting, Minke had this to say.
About half the people, a little over half the people, were either very dissatisfied or somewhat dissatisfied. Well, we're waiting for a lot of our businesses to participate. Only about 75 of the businesses had participated, but the numbers kind of drop off. They had 669 that had indicated that they were, talking about their internet, and then about 55 or 60 of those were outside of Fort Dodge. So those numbers were thrown out. But then when it got into the TV and the telephone, the numbers dropped. And telephone service dropped down to 205 respondents, and the TV was 432. And I asked the gentleman, I said, are we looking at TV and telephone as an option with this study? I said, why did we even look at that? And he said, well, it was just basically to find out how happy we were with it. There's a variety of services out there now that are very dependent on the internet as far as streaming services, video services. So you've got to have good, solid, reliable, dependable internet in order to use these streaming services.
There's an upcoming referendum on the November 5th City Council re-election ballot on whether the city should be able to create a municipal broadband utility or not. High school football kicks off under the lights tomorrow night, and the Alpha Media family of stations has a variety of games on the agenda. On Sunny 99.7, you can hear Greg Woods on the call as St. Edmunds travels to Panorama to open their season. That game's a 6:45 pregame with a 7 p.m. kick. Over on the Eagle 92.1, Fort Dodge will be hosting Mason City in a battle for the Decker Trophy at Dodger Stadium. Pregame 6:45, 7 p.m. kickoff. A 6:45 pregame and 7 p.m. kickoff over on the Beach 105.9 has longtime coach Brian Case leading his South Central Calhoun Titans into battle at East Sac County. You can hear veteran sportscasters Mark Williamson and Brian Peters on the call of that one. Join Dan Johnson on the brand new Central Iowa Area Showcase game on Mix 94.5 as this week's matchup features Southeast Valley hosting Hampton-Dumont Cal. A 7:15 pregame with a 7:30 kick for that one. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. High of 83 this afternoon under mainly sunny skies, northwesterly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Mainly clear skies and quiet again. Tonight, lows dip down to about 52. Mainly clear tomorrow, highs around 74. Chance for scattered rain showers Saturday with highs in the upper 60s, partly cloudy Sunday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 79.
Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services.
Oh, why not just cremate me when I'm gone?
Sounds simple, doesn't it? However, there are many options to consider when cremation is chosen. From simple to detailed, we at Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services can help you create a unique commemoration.
Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services.
Did you know when you donate items to the Keon Central, you're helping support DSOC, the local shelter for 20 north central Iowa counties? At DSOC, we support victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, survivors of homicide, and other violent crimes. When you bring your tax-deductible donations to the Key, you support them too. The Key is always accepting clothing, shoes, furniture, kitchen items, household goods, and more. On behalf of DSOC, thank you for your donations to the Keon Central, located at 1030 Central Avenue, Fort Dodge.
Like it or not, winter will be here before you know it. Is your roof ready for the heavy snow and possible ice jams? Be safe, not sorry. Call Spring Valley Roofing and Gutters today. They'll check your roof for potential problems with no obligation. If you've noticed a new stain on the ceiling or you've had water coming in when it rains, you've got a leak. Take care of it now and get Spring Valley's 10-year labor warranty and 50-year material warranty. Both are backed by the manufacturer. Spring Valley Roofing and Gutters, your GAF Master Elite contractor in and around Fort Dodge.
Okay, here we go. AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. What a day, what a day, what a day. Beautiful day. And joining us on this beautiful day is Dr. Lee Heeb, a libertarian. How are you, Doctor?
Hey, how are you?
I'm
Great.
outstanding.
Yeah, it is nice.
It is just a great day. Dr. Heeb, of course, ran for governor a short time ago on the libertarian ticket, and she remains a devoted libertarian, and she is, as a matter of fact, an actual doctor. She is an orthopedic surgeon, not a sociologist or somebody who has a PhD in English literature or some damn thing. I don't know. Anyway, we want to talk about the problem with bacteria in large cities that comes from humans' feces and human waste, especially San Francisco. I don't know if we talked about this last week or not, but I know this is getting to be a serious problem in some of our larger liberal cities like Portland, like San Francisco, like Seattle, who have welcomed all kinds of people with open arms, and these people come and camp out in the streets, camp out in their city parks, beautiful parks in some cases, that are now filled with people who defecate and urinate in public at all hours of the day and night, and that kind of discourages ordinary citizens from using these parks. But I understand it's getting to be a public health problem now.
Well, it is. I mean, so I came up with a title for today. I said this is the scoop on poop. But you know, I just want to make one sociologic comment here, even though you always say I'm not a PhD sociologist. But you know, in the 1930s, there was during the Dust Bowl and everything. You know, the East of Eden and all that. When all the unemployed people moved out to California, thinking they were going to find a better life, there was a 25% unemployment rate in California, but there was no poop on the street. So, you know, and it brings up the question, what's different today? I mean, you know, and I read this somewhere, and I thought it was kind of funny. It said, you know, when leftists look at these people on the streets, they say, why isn't government doing more about this? You know, when a conservative looks at people on the streets, they say, what's wrong with these people? You know, and that's really the issue here, because there's lots of things contributing to this, and it's not just unemployment. It's not just an economic issue. I mean, you and I, if we were poor, I don't think would still live like that. I don't think we would just crap on somebody's front yard. It's just that, you know, we had a sense of intact families back then, and we didn't have the drug and alcohol problems. We had a place we took care of the insane. You know, we shut down the insane asylums, so they're all out there. But there's just an overall moral and social decay, and so you know, and I will point out, we also had an overall kind of Christian ethic that you took care of other people and you respected other people's spaces and property, and that's just all that's happening. So it's a moral decay that's also causing this. But you've got to say honestly, part of the problem, I mean, the big problem, why is it not? I was going to say, why is it not happening like in Des Moines and Omaha? Well, our cold weather helps us, but the real issue too is we don't enable this. Now, I think it's really interesting in San Francisco, and I think we did touch on this the other day, but I got some numbers for you. So the poop problem has been getting worse. There have been record numbers since 2011. They actually have the reporting, I guess. There's a new feces reporting system, and they had 118,000
feces reporting system, really?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, this gets even funnier. So last year they had an all-record number of reports of feces, of poop on the sidewalk or wherever on the public spaces of 28,084 incidents. Now, to combat this problem, the city has decided they would hire people to combat it. So they have these 5 people they call the poop patrol.
Wow.
And get this, okay?
I'm ready.
So this is great San Francisco. They pay each of these people, the poop patrol, $184,000. In fact, I might go and get a job there. I'm not making that doing orthopedics. $184,000 a year plus, that includes their pay and pension. So that figures out that for each episode of poop being scooped up, it's $32 to the city, $32 or $38 to the city. While they're doing all that, last year San Francisco gave out $5.8 million in free syringes, so the drug people could, be a little more sanitary.
Oh,
they cannot make this up.
Oh, they're so loving and tolerant when they give away those free syringes. I wish I could do that. Man.
Well. And so then we get to the disease problem. So what's happening? Okay, it isn't just San Francisco, although it's, it's sad because San Francisco was once such a beautiful city. But it's San Diego, where I did my training and used to live. It's Los Angeles. In fact, they had to close down. I don't know if you saw that, but not too long ago, they had to close down City Hall in Los Angeles because of the rat problem. So, this is like the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and I'm not talking about Ilhan Omar and her friends. I'm talking about the real 4 horsemen that you get, with poverty. I mean, with you get disease and death, war. It all kind of goes together. And the problem here is this is pestilence. So when you have people living on the street, pooping, they're having food. There's also food around, so that it creates a rat environment. And diseases come with rats. One of them, French fever. It's a bad disease. It's not a fun disease, but it showed up in World War I, and it's a disease created by the bacteria that live among the rats. I think in their lice or whatever. No, I think it's in the stomach of the rat, or maybe it's in the stomach of the rat louse. But in any case, trench fever, you get bit by these things, and you get this painful bite and high fever and get real sick, just from being sleeping around where there are rats. And that's come out. We're having typhus, which typhus is what kills people. That really is that's probably a pestilence of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Typhus is probably it. Every war, you get war, and then you get typhus. And we had it in World War II. It's a poverty, starvation disease, and that's breaking out in these cities. And typhus is fatal sometimes.
What is the response?
I hadn't heard this one, but lately in San Francisco, because of the poop, they've got a dysentery outbreak of Shigella.
Of what?
Shigella, I've had that actually. I got contaminated in an emergency one time, and trust me, that is not a fun disease. That's real dysentery. And, and then we're getting hepatitis A. We're getting, what else? I can't think. Actually bubonic plague comes with rats and the lice and people all in close conjunction. So nothing good is going to come of this. I mean, this is a real mess. But it's not all cities. It's just the cities that enable this and keep these people happy sleeping on the street. That's the problem.
I wonder why it is the general population tolerates that. Do they keep it in one section of town or what?
Well, no, they don't. And I don't know if I told you the story. Was I talking about this last week? I don't want to repeat myself, but I was in Seattle because my husband's Navy buddy was out there, and we were between the Four Seasons Hotel and their premier flagship Starbucks, the most elegant Starbucks I've ever been in. Within this 1 block radius, between those two, they're on the same block, kind of like one wall between the two. And here are homeless people sleeping there. So and that's why, and I think it's funny. That's why the mansion crowd, the Nancy Pelosi's and the Dianne Feinsteins, are making sure that when they build these homeless shelters, they don't build them too close to their little walled compound.
Yeah, I love it that Nancy Pelosi lives in a walled compound. I love that.
Oh, yeah. Well, a lot of these guys do. Let's face it. They don't. There's the super elite, and then there's us. There's everybody else. And it's these guys don't live like we do.
No, they don't.
And they're the protected class.
How anybody can think that Nancy Pelosi and Dianne Feinstein care about those struggling to make ends meet is just beyond me. It's just I have no idea why anyone would think that.
Yeah, and it's like Laura Loomer leaping over Nancy Pelosi's, or I think Dianne Feinstein's little wall to her backyard and offering to put up a shelter for immigrants there because she thought that she was welcoming. But these cities are these are cities where look at the mayor of Portland. He says we welcome all you people.
Yes.
That they've made it, and this is not just illegal immigrants. This is Americans. And I got to tell you, I don't know if I mentioned this, but one of the tragedies, and I saw this happen. Part of this happened almost overnight when they closed down the sanitariums, and it was done because of emotion. It's again not looking at facts, not looking at really what goes on, not investigating things, but just seeing something they didn't like, and the left closed these down. We saw the movie. People saw the movie One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest with Jack Nicholson.
Right.
And overnight, there was a big push to close all the sanitariums. I mean, yes, they were trying to close some before that, but it really happened almost directly after that movie. And maybe it had been in the works, and that was just my observation. But I just think it's another one of these, like the China syndrome, and we immediately got rid of our nuclear program. We don't look at the facts. We look at them. There's just this huge, now we got global warming, and we just have this emotion that we have to do something and, run out and do something, even though we're going to do it in our private jet. That's the problem here. And that put a bunch of homeless people, when they closed down the sanitariums, a bunch of homeless people that aren't able to really care for themselves. There are real people that need custodial care and need some help. And they don't need high-level nursing, but they cannot function in society for whatever reason, either a very low IQ or true, psychopathology or true psychiatry problems that in any case make them unable to cope. There are really those people, and it didn't used to be all druggies. Now that group has expanded greatly because we've enabled drug use and we've included. We just don't separate those people out. We think those people have a disease, and we treat them like the people that absolutely cannot recover. Well, and we get more and more and more people that are on the dole that we're supporting, and then this is what breaks out, because you also don't have a moral structure in society to keep people from living like this. That's a problem.
Yeah, you don't have. Apparently, the moral structure that these large liberal cities have is bring them to our city, let them live outside, feed them, provide no sanitary facilities at all. Because some of these homeless camps in some of these larger cities, like in Los Angeles, I know there's a couple of homeless camps there that are huge, and there are no sanitation facilities. None, zip, nada. Right. So are the people not going to the bathroom? Or are they, in fact, going to the bathroom just wherever they please? Because I'm thinking they're just going
exactly right.
wherever they happen to be, that's where they're going to go to the bathroom.
Oh, yeah. But they're far enough away from the elite that they don't have to worry about it. That really is the issue. Until it becomes their backyard problem. I keep waiting to hear from George Clooney about, he had this whole problem with suddenly overnight his European little villa in Riva del Garda, Italy, where I love that place. I've been there myself. It was just surrounded by Moroccan or some Algerian, some African, tent city. And it was like, he said, wait a minute, but I never really heard him talk since then. He got very quiet. And these guys, when it comes to the backyard, they're probably going to see the light. But it's like Germany. The little towns in Germany are overwhelmed with these African immigrants. But the big people and the politicians don't care because they live in Berlin and Hamburg and nice subdivisions. They're not affected yet.
And the only effect that they have is that somebody cleans their pool, and that somebody mows their grass for practically nothing. That's what they care about. This is about cheap labor. All immigration and the big illegal immigration push that we have here in the United States is all about cheap labor. The Democrats on this particular issue are the biggest phonies in the United States of America. Corporations want cheap labor, and the Democrats want to feed at that corporate trough just as much as the Republicans do. So they're gonna position themselves as noble and tolerant and welcoming to illegal immigrants. And what they're really doing is providing a lot of cheap labor to the biggest corporations in the state of Iowa and in the United States. The Democrats are the most morally bankrupt party on earth. I cannot stand to listen to them at all anymore. I used to try to read the New York Times or whatever because I thought that I needed to know what both sides were talking about, each side's intellectual position. The Democrats have no intellectual position. It's shocking.
Well, I actually wrote down the other day, this is a little off the subject of poop, but since we've kind of covered that, I got to say, I wrote down 25, I said, okay, let me get this right. Let me just think about what their positions in this election cycle are. And just real briefly, you can tell me if I'm wrong about these. But number one, no borders, no walls, no USA at all. This is an actual slogan. Okay, number two, unlimited immigration without necessity of assimilation into our culture. Number three, free medical care for illegals. Number four, allow illegals to vote. Number five, abortion on demand. Number six, get rid of classic gender denomination. Number seven, gun confiscation. Number eight, eliminate the Electoral College. Number nine, limit free speech on the internet and public debate by labeling anything they don't like as hate speech, specifically against their political opponents. Number 10, raise the minimum wage, which, by the way, then our socialist forerunner can't pay his own staff that when he did that. Number 11, mandatory living wage regardless of work status, the guy from New York. Number 12, increase taxation, corporate and personal. Number 13, defund the military. That's on there every year. Number 14, defend Antifa violence. Number 15, to crash the economy to get rid of a Trump. That was Bill Mayer and also the Federal Reserve Chairman.
Right.
Number 16, close coal and nuclear plants. Number 17, subsidize non-economically sound energy schemes, wind and solar. Number 18, increase government outreach in practically everything. Number 19, limit the U.S. carbon output while allowing China and other third world nations out of their responsibilities. Number 12, support money transfers to our enemies like North Korea and Iran. Number 21, onerous, costly environmental protection laws. And that gets into this one because one of the problems that we're having in these cities is they've gotten rid of the one really good rat killer, which is why Baltimore was in the news with all the rats and why these cities are having a rat outbreak and why they got rid of the insecticide that took care of bed bugs, and that's why we're having that. And number 22, mandatory vaccinations. Number 23, to wage war against Putin and Russia in one way or another. Number 24, to demonize Netanyahu in Israel. And number 5, to have to support central banking control of the money supply. I went through, maybe you can come up with something that you would actually agree with. I cannot find one thing in that list I agree with. Not one.
Not one. No, that's true. Dr. Lee Heeb is usually on Friday, but I'm not going to be here tomorrow, so I asked Dr. Heeb to be on today, and she very generously did that. So, Lee, thank you so much.
Okay, thanks.
All right. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. That's right. We're making radio great again right here at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. It's 327. Another person that's usually on my show on Friday is Janice Valentine. Since I won't be here, I asked her to be on today, and she generously consented to do that. So we'll talk with Janice after the news as Divine Intervention continues at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Come on.
Warning: if you're buried in debt you can't afford, do not let the credit card companies make you think you have to pay it all back, because you don't. What the credit card companies don't want you to know is that there's actually a way to get debt-free without paying off your entire debt or going bankrupt. If you have $10,000 or more in credit card debt, you now have the right to let us settle that debt for a fraction of what you owe. For free information, call Credit Answers at 800-970-5932. If you're struggling to pay off your debt, do not let the credit card companies make you think you have to. Call Credit Answers now for free information on how to get out of debt faster than you ever thought possible, without debt consolidation or bankruptcy. We offer a guarantee with no upfront fees, so there's no risk. For free information, visit creditanswers.com or call 800-970-5932. That's 800-970-5932.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. Fort Dodge City Councilman Terry Minke was a guest on Divine's Intervention with Mike Divine on KVFD AM 1400 when asked about the recent results of the broadband feasibility survey here in Fort Dodge that were presented at Monday night's City Council meeting. Minke had this to say.
About half the people, a little over half the people, were either very dissatisfied or somewhat dissatisfied. Well, we're waiting for a lot of our businesses to participate. Only about 75 of the businesses had participated, but the numbers kind of drop off. They had 669 that had indicated that they were, talking about their internet, and then about 55 or 60 of those were outside of Fort Dodge. So those numbers were thrown out. But then when it got into the TV and the telephone, the numbers dropped. And telephone service dropped down to 205 respondents, and the TV was 432. And I asked the gentleman, I said, are we looking at TV and telephone as an option with this study? I said, why did we even look at that? And he said, well, it was just basically to find out how happy we were with it. There's a variety of services out there now that are very dependent on the internet as far as streaming services, video services. So you've got to have good, solid, reliable, dependable internet in order to use these streaming services.
There's an upcoming referendum on the November 5th City Council re-election ballot on whether the city should be able to create a municipal broadband utility or not. High school football kicks off under the lights tomorrow night, and the Alpha Media family of stations has a variety of games on the agenda. On Sunny 99.7, you can hear Greg Woods on the call as St. Edmunds travels to Panorama to open their season. That game's a 6:45 pregame with a 7 p.m. kick. Over on the Eagle 92.1, Fort Dodge will be hosting Mason City in a battle for the Decker Trophy at Dodger Stadium. Pregame 6:45, 7 p.m. kickoff. A 6:45 pregame and 7 p.m. kickoff over on the Beach 105.9 has longtime coach Brian Case leading his South Central Calhoun Titans into battle at East Sac County. You can hear veteran sportscasters Mark Williamson and Brian Peters on the call of that one. Join Dan Johnson on the brand new Central Iowa Area Showcase game on Mix 94.5 as this week's matchup features Southeast Valley hosting Hampton Dumont Cal. A 7:15 pregame with a 7:30 kick for that one. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. High of 83 this afternoon under mainly sunny skies, northwesterly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Mainly clear skies and quiet again. Tonight, lows dip down to about 52. Mainly clear tomorrow, highs around 74. Chance for scattered rain showers Saturday with highs in the upper 60s, partly cloudy Sunday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 80.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. September corn down 3 cents at 3.59 3/4. December up a quarter penny to close at 3.71 1/4. March up 1.5 cents at 3.83 1/4. May up 1.5 at 3.90 3/4. September soybeans up 3.5 at 8.56 1/4. November up 2 3/4 at 8.68 1/2. January up 2.5 at 8.81 1/2. March up 2 cents at 8.94. September wheat closed down 2.5 cents at 4.69 3/4. Soybean meal down $2 a ton at 2.92. August live cattle up 57 cents at 105.65. October up 60 at 99.80. In the feeder cattle, August unchanged at 138.75. September up 55 cents at 133.40. October lean hogs up $1.40 to close at 64.90. December up 195 at 65.65, and February up 182 at 73.05. I'm Dwayne Murley.
Most Americans say they wash or rinse raw poultry before cooking it. But a new study by the U.S. Department of Agriculture says people need to stop. I'm Julie Harker, and this is Healthy Living on Brownfield. Christopher Bernstein, Director of Consumer Education at the USDA, says participants use test kitchens to cook chicken thighs and then prepare a salad. The study showed that people who washed the chicken ended up contaminating the sink and other surfaces.
3/4 of people, when they wash poultry, they didn't even try to clean and sanitize anywhere. And then you think about the other things you do in the sink. You wash your hands, you clean produce in the sink. So washing the poultry really increased risk of cross-contamination in a lot of different areas in the kitchen.
He says people should clean and sanitize any surface that has touched raw poultry or its juices. Bernstein says washing poultry doesn't accomplish much and instead increases the risk of food poisoning from cross-contamination. The study also shows not enough people are washing their hands in the kitchen.
We all know hand washing is important, but when we observe people in this test kitchen, they say they're going to wash their hands, but they actually don't. Or they say they wash their hands correctly and they actually don't. So they really need to spend a full 20 seconds lathering the hands with soap and water when they're washing hands.
I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield.
As an 18-year-old, I let my mistakes kind of take over my life. I was 0.5 credits away from completing high school, and I didn't do it.
10 years later, at age 28, Jackie finished her high school diploma.
When I found out that I was pregnant, I know that I had to do something for myself if I wanted to make her a better person and provide a better life for her. My family never stopped pushing for me to be better because they knew what I could become and who I could become as a person. My support team is amazing. The educational director, my sister, and even my 7-year-old daughter has just been more than the support that I could ask for. I've been given an opportunity, and I'm just thankful for it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
That's right. I am the Doctor of Truth. Joining me now is the Lawyer of Truth, Janice Valentine. How are you, Janice?
I'm fabulous. How about you?
You are fabulous, as always. The fabulous Janice Valentine is an attorney practicing primarily in workers' compensation and personal injury. There is no fee for a first consultation. You may reach Janice Valentine at Valentine Law Office, PC, J. Valentine at valentinelaw.net at 515-955-5544, 415 the Boston Center, 809 Central Avenue, Fort Dodge, Iowa, or at www.valentinelaw.net. What a beautiful day, Janice. What a beautiful day.
We've had a beautiful week.
We have, and we deserve it, by the way.
Yeah.
We absolutely deserve it because the weather's going to suck in about 3 months, so we might as well eat this up.
Yeah, what did I see? It's going to be the polar vortex or something.
Yeah, you got another polar vortex. I'm getting too old for this. I got to start going to Arizona in the wintertime. I got to start doing this. But anyway, Janice, I talked to your friend Kelly Halstead a little earlier today, and Kelly mentioned she hadn't swung a golf club all summer. Are you girls? Are you withdrawing from the world of golf, or what are you doing?
No, that's Kelly's move, not my move.
That's Kelly's. Okay.
Yeah. I'm still getting a few swings in here and there.
But you're not out there as much as you used to be.
Well, it just kind of goes in spurts.
Okay.
You know, it depends on what's on the work calendar mostly.
Okay.
So yeah.
Well, a long weekend would, in this kind of weather, which we're supposed to have through the weekend.
Yes, it would be a good golf weekend.
Good. I think I golfed once this year. or was that, or was I just on the putting green trying to see if I could still do it and got disgusted and went home? I can't remember. But
Well, putting is part of golf, but it's hardly golf. I mean, the best part of golf is getting your frustrations out on hitting a ball really hard.
yeah.
You know?
I'm gonna take a different tack with you again, Janice. Illinois has legalized marijuana, and Governor Reynolds has said that she would never do something like that. Now, Governor Reynolds has had a history of drinking problems, as I recall, and I'm sure that's coloring her decision. But legally, is there a case to legalize marijuana in the state of Iowa?
Well, yeah, if the legislators want to go to work and do that, and I think there's several that do, that has every potential. And I think in a few years, I think the federal laws will take care of this, so that won't necessarily be a state-by-state issue. But it's interesting. I don't see it here so much because I don't represent too many. In fact, I don't have any Illinois residents right now, but I know some of my friends on the East Coast there, they have clients that legally can access marijuana and are wanting work comp companies to pay for it if the doctor prescribes it.
Yeah.
So there has been only one Iowa case that I'm aware of that's resolved that issue, and the courts here said, no, you can't require an insurance company to pay for something that is federally illegal, which I tend to agree with. I don't think we want to put that burden on really anyone. But, it raises some interesting issues, as any time it does when you have people that close in proximity being governed by different laws. Along those lines, too, I also saw in the news just this week that they have now come up with a breathalyzer that will test for marijuana levels.
Really?
Yeah, and I don't know if it's in the testing phases or if it's really out there in the public to be bought. But you knew that was a matter of time, because at some point we're going to have to be able to measure what levels are in your system, so we know whether you should be or shouldn't be operating a motor vehicle.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. You should not, ladies and gentlemen. When I advocate for the legalization of marijuana, as I have practically since I've had this program, I do it for on libertarian grounds, and I really believe that smoking marijuana is certainly no more hazardous to your health than drinking liquor. I've done both, believe me, and I'll tell you, I never had a hangover from too much weed. But old Jim Beam put me down a couple of times, I'll tell you. Jim's
a naughty boy.
Oh,
sometimes.
Jim's a roughie. He starts out as your friend, but then he kicks you in the head and leaves you there, and that's just the way that is. But no, I think that there's not a compelling reason to prevent marijuana from being legalized, as far as I'm concerned. And one of my best friends from high school, and I mentioned him before, moved out to Washington years ago, and Washington has had legal marijuana for a long time, and it has actually been proscribed for him. He was a carpenter. He was a very good carpenter. He's a talented artist, really, and he fell off a ladder and hurt his back, and he's never really recovered. So doctors in Washington have authorized him to grow marijuana in his backyard for his personal use. Now, he's not allowed to sell it, and he certainly does not. But he actually has a prescription, which I thought was kind of cool.
Well, and from my perspective, and I'm saying this, I've never done weed, so I don't know how it feels or how you are on it. But
right.
I have a number of clients, and I have some colleagues that I know are battling conditions that result in excruciating pain.
Absolutely.
And, to me it seems odd that if we can manufacture weed in a safe and regulated way, why we wouldn't do that when we're so okay with manufacturing using science to create some kind of pill that, as we've learned, sometimes those aren't always good for us either. And if we could use something that was more natural, and if it's effective at a very low dose, because I have some friends that say if they just kind of milk a joint out for a week or two, they're okay. So to me, that's pretty low level usage.
Pretty low level, yeah.
And it alleviates a lot of their symptoms. So, it's too bad we have to criminalize wanting, I feel so horrible for parents who have children with seizures, because it seems like it has clearly shown some benefit in those areas. And, I think if I was that parent, I'd move to somewhere where it was legal, so I wasn't a criminal for helping my kid be a healthier person.
That's just mean-spirited, frankly, to deny medication like medical marijuana to people who are going through chemotherapy, and
there's a perfect example where you should be able to have as much as you want.
Yeah. Oh yes, absolutely. I mean, these people are, and I've seen people go through, loved ones go through chemotherapy. It's physically draining. They're nauseous. They're very sick.
That's what I was going to say. They have no appetite. They don't eat. They lose a ton of weight because they can't eat or keep anything down. And there's a former Fort Dodge person that moved to Arizona that ended up with cancer in her bones. And,
oh, gosh.
And she was a huge advocate. That's the first time I had heard about the effects that weed could help with somebody on chemo. And now she's no longer with us, but she was very vocal in her support of legalizing marijuana for purposes like that, where, the end, is near. And you just want to be not miserable as much as you already are. I mean, just to help with the basics of pain and nausea. So
I've heard that before. I know guys that quit drinking years and years ago. They got cancer, stomach cancer or something, and the doctor said, "Look, have a couple of beers. It'll make your stomach feel better." And what? It's not going to shorten your life. I mean,
right.
It's and doctors are usually compassionate, and they would prescribe medical marijuana if someone was seriously ill like that to offset the effects of cancer medication. I think it's ideological fanaticism on the part of some in Des Moines to deny that to very sick people, and doesn't speak well of them at all.
Well, and I don't know that it's just the folks in Des Moines, because I do think there's quite a number on both sides of the aisle that are in favor of various mechanisms of making this legal, not recreationally, so to speak, but at least medicinal. Yet, we grew up watching that commercial. Remember that egg in the fry pan?
Here's your brain on drugs.
Here's your brain, and here's your brain on drugs.
That's
and
right.
Let's not kid ourselves. That was ingrained. That was just drummed in our heads. The war on drugs. Everybody knows it.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not been effective, as we all know. We've just got a whole bunch of people sitting in jail that don't really need to be there.
I was working at a rock radio station in North Carolina about that time. That commercial was in deep rotation. Me and a couple of my friends put together a counter commercial that a voice would come on here. This is your brain, and some friendly guy's voice would come on and say, "Hey, how you doing? This is your brain on drugs." And then George Bush would come on. The first George Bush would come on and say, "Yes, this we must keep marijuana illegal," or something. It was a lot more clever than I'm describing it now. But so yeah, oh God, this is your brain on drugs. We're not talking about heroin here, ladies and gentlemen, or methamphetamine. Those are terrible drugs. They should remain illegal.
Right.
They don't do anything for anybody. They're destructive. They're terrible. I get it. I'm not in favor of legalizing all drugs, for God's sake. But marijuana? Come on.
Well, we can prescribe things much stronger than marijuana. Legally prescribed drugs. Some of the methadone, oxycodone.
Oh yeah.
All those things have very powerful effects, and we allow those prescriptions. So to me, again, I hate to be crass about it, but it's a huge revenue source that we're just losing out on because people are certainly still smoking weed. We're just not benefiting from it as taxpayers.
Oh, I've mentioned this on air several times, referring once again to my friend who lives out in Spokane, Washington. I asked him if Washington, after their marijuana experiment, would ever consider once again criminalizing marijuana. And he looked at me with a smirk on his face, and he said, Washington realized $250 million in new revenue the first year that they had legalized marijuana sales. And he smiled and said, they're never going back.
Yeah.
They're
think
never
about it.
going back.
I mean, that would be a huge boost for infrastructure or whatever,
Oh, yeah.
Schools, and things that we're always scrambling to fund. So, yeah, I think at some point the reality is going to smack everybody. But there is obvious resistance, the whole gateway drug argument or whatever.
Oh, God, I hate that. My gateway drug was a can of Grain Belt, and I have no regrets. God.
I think that's most people's gateway
Yeah,
drug.
exactly. Grain Belt and a Marlboro. Oh, my God, I'm in trouble now.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm with you. I just think we need to be less paternalistic and more realistic.
God, really? Yeah, really. I had a mom. It's fine, but I don't need one at my age. So I really don't. Janice Valentine is our guest today on 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I wanted to ask you now. Our legislative body made some changes to how workers can file for compensation or to even sue employers who are negligent if they were injured. How has that affected your business? I mean, how do you see that after a period of time here?
Yeah, oddly enough, that's been 2 years ago. We're just starting to see those cases. They're just getting heard, getting through the system. So it's kind of an open book yet. We don't really know how it's going to play out. I know from my colleagues on the other side of the fence that are doing defense work, they think that their work has slowed down a great deal. And I wouldn't be that surprised about that because with some of the changes that are made in the law, it makes more sense for an adjuster to just have me do some work versus hire them to do work. It's still kind of a new game. I'm not sure. The interesting thing for me is, I kind of have to play under two sets of rules here. Everybody that comes in, I have to know when their date of injury was, because if it was before June or July of 2017, they're under these sets of rules, and if it's after, it's under the new rules. And so you kind of have to, keep your mind straight on which law to apply. And then when it comes to those injuries after July of 2017, no one in the state can say with certainty how that's going to play out. So you kind of feel like a brand new lawyer all over again, because you're not sure what the law is going to be or how it's going to be interpreted by the courts. The words are on the paper, but they're written in such a way they don't make a whole lot of sense, to be honest with you. So I think they tried to do some things and did other things that they probably didn't intend to do. So we'll see how that all shakes out. But no, I'm still plenty busy and happy to represent people with injuries before and after. I know there's probably some of my colleagues that are thinking about venturing into different areas of the law, but this is just kind of where my passion is, and so I plan on staying.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
Good. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm with Attorney Janice Valentine. Just as we end here, I am absolutely opposed to domestic violence of any kind. But every now and then, maybe I can understand. DeMarcus Cousins is the center for the Los Angeles Lakers, and I shouldn't say I understand domestic violence because I do not. But DeMarcus Cousins has an ex-girlfriend, and he has a 7-year-old son with the ex-girlfriend. DeMarcus Cousins is getting married to another woman, and he has asked his former girlfriend and the mother of his son if he could have the son at his wedding. And here's a transcript that the former girlfriend, Christy West, has put online. DeMarcus Cousins says, I'm going to ask you this one more time before I take it to another level. Can I have my son here? Ex-girlfriend Christy West replies, go shoot the ball. Cousins then says, can I have my son here, please? Christy West, the ex-girlfriend and mother, says, no, he's not coming. Well, DeMarcus then takes it to another level and threatens to put a bullet through her head. This is unpleasant to read. DeMarcus Cousins had, I don't know what's in his mind at all to say something like that. That's an ugly thing. Of course, Christy West really isn't looking that good here. What do you, from a legal standpoint, is there anything Cousins could have done? I mean, did she have, without knowing a little background of the case, I'm sure you can't say exactly, but she must have custody. Is there nothing that DeMarcus Cousins could have done other than threaten to put a bullet through her head?
Well, I would think you could petition with the court that has jurisdiction over the child to get permission from the court to have him in attendance. I don't know if it's a situation where he chose to have his wedding on one of her weekends or something. I mean, I don't know what the whole situation is.
Yeah, really.
But, it's sad when you hear or read about those types of things because it's clearly they're not focused on what they should be focused on, which is what the kid sees and what the kid needs. Parents that co-parent in that fashion are only destroying their relationship with the child, I think. Because at some point the child's going to get old enough and figure out who is doing what, and hold that against the parent. I just don't see it any other way. And, we all have friends that are survivors of divorce and from talking with them how they knew how to play parent to get the end result that they were hoping for. So, that's sad for this child that he has to be the pawn that's being used.
That's what he is, isn't it? That's just
it
terrible.
It's kind of despicable and tragic that he's going to be the one that loses out. Parents need to be parents and grow up.
Yeah, really? God.
You see, sometimes I'll read through some of those cases that make it to the appellate courts, and it's the 5th or 8th time that they've been there. And, you just have to wonder at what point does the court just go, let's just get this kid out of here,
Yeah.
And I know the court would never do that because there's always preference for the parents, as there should be. But
I know people who came out of college and went to work in social services, wanted to work with kids, wanted to help abused children, wanted to take an active role in the court system, on and on and on. And they left the field after 2 or 3 years. They were so frustrated. The parents are just idiots, like these two.
I think it's a huge field of burnout.
Oh, it is.
Even for the absolute perfect person, it's a very draining position to be in because you really don't see a whole lot of happy endings.
Boy, you just don't. And I know one guy told me they keep putting the kids back in these troubled homes where there's violence and craziness, and I couldn't do it anymore, I understand. I hate to leave on that negative note there, Janice. It is a beautiful weekend, and I hope you have a great weekend.
Hey, go Hawks and go Cyclones.
Go Hawks. Thank you, Janice.
All right.
AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
What's the biggest rack you ever saw? You're not going to believe this, but I saw a huge rack once. I know it was a 44.
A 44? Man, I'd like to see that.
Me too.
Yep, that was a nice rack, all right.
Looking for a big rack this year? Then head for the Iowa Outdoor Store, where you'll find everything you need to bag the buck with the big rack. Bring your bowing with you and they'll make sure it's ready for the season. Check out the full line of bows and accessories today at the Iowa Outdoor Store at the junction of Highway 7 and 169, Fort Dodge.
When severe weather threatens, keep it here for the Severe Weather Advisor. Brought to you by Creative Signs and Graphics, Fort Dodge. For signs, decals, vehicle graphics, magnets, logos, customized documents, and more. If your business needs it, Creative Signs and Graphics can make it. And a stitch above the rest embroidery, Fort Dodge. Step out in style with quality brands, timely turnaround, and professional service. A stitch above the rest. Embroidery professionals worth finding. Remember, when severe weather threatens, stay with your friends on KVFD.
Connect
to this radio station from all across the country. Take us to the gym, shopping. How about a road trip? Listen to us now on the free iHeartRadio app. You'll never miss a moment with your favorite radio station. Download the free iHeartRadio app and search for this station so we can go wherever you want us to.
Summer's winding down, and if you're thinking of new flooring for the fall and the coming holidays, you've got to go to Jim's Carpet One Floor & Home's huge Labor Day sale. Hi, this is Dean Sternberg. Save now on waterproof luxury vinyl, natural hardwood, classic tile, and more, including pet-friendly, super soft Pygressa carpets. Take advantage of the special financing options. Labor Day flooring sale only for a limited time and only at Jim's Carpet One, across from Decker Truck Line, Fort Dodge. Don't forget our Steals and Deals room for immediate savings.
Financing on approved credit. See store for details.
In today's economy, it just makes sense to plan ahead. At Historic Bruce Funeral Home, pre-planning your funeral arrangements can save you money. By planning ahead, you can secure your arrangements at today's prices, no matter when our services are needed. Pre-planning your funeral is one of the most thoughtful things you can do for your family. Call us for details. Historic Bruce Funeral Home, Fort Dodge. Online at brucesfuneralhome.com.
All right, you're listening to AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. 3:59. The news is coming up. Mayor Matt Bermick will not be here today. His priorities are all screwed up. He called me earlier today, said he couldn't make it. Some work thing, I guess. All right, I'll take his word for it. Yeah, Fox News, then the local news with Rob Jones coming up as Divine Intervention continues at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
For exciting Panther sports, keep it right here on your home for University of Northern Iowa sports in north central Iowa. The voice of Fort Dodge, KVFD, Fort Dodge.
Tracking Hurricane Dorian. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. Many in Florida not taking any chances ahead of what could be a monster storm. Fox's Eben Brown is live in Broward County.
Yeah, Lisa, the updated track for Hurricane Dorian is now published, and not much has changed, as it still shows a major hurricane striking the east coast of Florida, close to Port St. Lucie, but with an error margin that still includes the entire Atlantic side of the state. The storm is holding its winds at 85 miles an hour, but the forecast is for winds to be at least 130 miles an hour when it gets here. Watches and warnings are not officially posted yet, but could be tomorrow, though calls to prepare are in full effect, Lisa.
Meantime, President Trump just announcing he is postponing a trip to Poland this weekend.
Our highest priority is the safety and security of the people in the path of the hurricane.
He'll send Vice President Pence to Poland in his place. Part of that trip is a ceremony marking 80 years since the start of World War II. The president's announcement coming at the start of a ceremony to officially launch the U.S. Space Command. Fox's Rachel Sutherland, live in Washington.
Lisa, the president is praising the standing up of the U.S. Space Command, the next step to his dream of a sixth branch of the military dedicated to space. Speaking in the Rose Garden at the White House, President Trump said,
"This is a landmark day, one that recognizes the centrality of space to America's national security and defense."
The combatant command will be headed up by General John Raymond, who will oversee 87 units. A separate U.S. Space Force would need the approval of Congress. Lisa.
Rachel, a blunt warning from the U.S. Surgeon General.
This ain't your mother's marijuana.
That increased potency, just one concern for Vice Admiral Jerome Adams, who also emphasizes the risks to adolescents and pregnant women in a new advisory. America is listening to Fox News.
When you fire up a John Deere 1 Series tractor, you can tackle the job without wrestling the attachments. Hook up everything from a front loader to a drive-over mower deck in no time, so you can haul gravel, cut grass, or do any job in between. Because when things just click, work just gets done. And now get a 1 Series for just $99 a month at your nearest participating John Deere dealer. Nothing runs like a Deere. Run with us. Search John Deere 1 Series for more. 0% annual percentage rate. For additional cost information, please call toll-free 855-633-2315.
Summer's ending, and savings are back in business with Dell's Labor Day sale. Small businesses can save up to 40% on select business computers with Intel Core processors, plus free shipping on everything, including a wide selection of thousands of top-brand electronics. Give our specially trained small business technology advisors a call. They can help you find just the right tech to fit your business with Labor Day savings. Visit Dell.com/business deals or call 877-BUY-DELL. That's 877-BUY-DELL.
Justice Department says he won't be prosecuted, but former FBI Chief James Comey is being chastised in an Inspector General's report. Fox's Catherine Herridge.
The Justice Department's internal watchdog concluded that former FBI Director James Comey violated his own agency's policies and employment agreement in his handling of memos documenting private conversations with the president. Reads in part, quote, "We have previously faulted Comey for acting unilaterally and inconsistent with department policy. What was not permitted was the unauthorized disclosure of sensitive investigative information obtained during the course of FBI employment in order to achieve a personally desired outcome. That was the appointment of a special counsel."
The report says Comey set a dangerous example. Comey tweeting that critics, including the president, have lied about him for 2 years. The president tweeting that Comey was thoroughly disgraced by the report. The sex trafficking case against Jeffrey Epstein is dismissed by a judge in New York.
Prosecutors asked for and District Judge Richard Berman granted the dismissal. Epstein took his own life by hanging himself in his Manhattan jail cell earlier this month. The end of the case comes just 2 days after 16 women detailed in a hearing that Epstein used his money and his connections to take advantage of them. The women implored prosecutors to continue with the case. While the judge did end this action against Epstein, U.S. Attorney General William Barr says the Justice Department intends to go after co-conspirators of Epstein's who enabled his attacks on women. In New York City, Gernal Scott, Fox News.
Jeopardy host Alex Trebek is back for season 36.
I've gone through a lot of chemotherapy, and thankfully that is now over.
In a video post today, the 79-year-old saying he's on the mend after treatment for pancreatic cancer. New episodes of the show start airing on September 9th. I'm Lisa Brady, and this is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. Fort Dodge City Councilman Terry Minke was a guest on Divine's Intervention with Mike Divine on KVFD AM 1400. When asked about the recent results of the broadband feasibility survey here in Fort Dodge that were presented at Monday night's City Council meeting, Minke had this to say.
About half the people, a little over half the people, were either very dissatisfied or somewhat dissatisfied. Well, we're waiting for a lot of our businesses to participate. Only about 75 of the businesses had participated, but the numbers kind of drop off. They had 669 that had indicated that they were, talking about their internet, and then about 55 or 60 of those were outside of Fort Dodge. So those numbers were thrown out. But then when it got into the TV and the telephone, the numbers dropped. And telephone service dropped down to 205 respondents, and the TV was 432. And I asked the gentleman, I said, are we looking at TV and telephone as an option with this study? I said, why did we even look at that? And he said, well, it was just basically to find out how happy we were with it. There's a variety of services out there now that are very dependent on the internet as far as streaming services, video services. So you've got to have good, solid, reliable, dependable internet in order to use these streaming services.
There's an upcoming referendum on the November 5th City Council re-election ballot on whether the city should be able to create a municipal broadband utility or not. High school football kicks off under the lights tomorrow night, and the Alpha Media family of stations has a variety of games on the agenda. On Sunny 99.7, you can hear Greg Woods on the call as St. Edmunds travels to Panorama to open their season. That game's a 6:45 pregame with a 7 p.m. kick. Over on the Eagle 92.1, Fort Dodge will be hosting Mason City in a battle for the Decker Trophy at Dodger Stadium. Pregame 6:45, 7 p.m. kickoff. A 6:45 pregame and 7 p.m. kickoff over on the Beach 105.9. has longtime coach Brian Case leading his South Central Calhoun Titans into battle at East Sac County. You can hear veteran sportscasters Mark Williamson and Brian Peters on the call of that one. Join Dan Johnson on the brand new Central Iowa Area Showcase game on Mix 94.5 as this week's matchup features Southeast Valley hosting Hampton-Dumont Cal. A 7:15 pregame with a 7:30 kick for that one. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. High of 83 this afternoon under mainly sunny skies, northwesterly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Mainly clear skies and quiet again. Tonight, lows dip down to about 52. Mainly clear tomorrow, highs around 74. Chance for scattered rain showers Saturday with highs in the upper 60s, partly cloudy Sunday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 80.
I'm Jamie Brundage, owner of Historic Bruce Funeral Home. We're a full-service funeral home with an off-site crematory. At Bruce's, we specialize in pre-arrangements and family support before, during, and after the service. We also offer beautiful memorial items to help you remember your loved one forever. Bruce Funeral Home is proud to be by your side every step of the way throughout the funeral process. Historic Bruce Funeral Home, Fort Dodge.
Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
At AM 1400 KVFD.
That's right. That's where you're at, AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. And yes, I'm the Doctor of Truth. And joining me now is Dr. Brandy Jensen. How are you, Doctor?
I'm good. How are you?
You feel a little intimidated talking to the Doctor of Truth, though, right?
Of course.
Some of you remember a few years ago we had people from the College of Public Health at the University of Iowa on regularly, and Dr. Jansen is with the College of Public Health at the University of Iowa. She is with the Occupational and Environmental Health Department, and I'm glad to welcome Dr. Jansen to our program for the very first time. So the question that we all want to know is, how are the Hawkeyes going to do this year, and why is Kirk Ferentz make so much money?
Well, we all want to know the answer to that.
No, Dr. Jansen, seriously, just last week, a popular and well-known farmer from Humboldt County, just north of us here. I knew him from being in the radio business. Sweet guy, real sharp guy, very active in the Soybean Association. Was out somewhere on one of his properties, and he climbed up on a grain bin and apparently fell inside and was killed. He didn't get lost in the grain or anything like that. I believe he fell to his death. But 62 years old, great loss for our area. Every fall we have deaths on the farm, especially around grain bins, but not necessarily, but all kinds of death on the farm. What can we do to prevent these sort of things?
Oh, yeah, it is a consistent problem, and it's true that these deaths and injuries are almost always preventable. Farming is challenging for so many reasons. You have a lot of things that you're trying to manage, and you have to be your own safety manager as well. So different types of equipment, grain bins, tractors, everything needs a safety protocol, and it's sometimes really hard to think through all those practices when you're in the moment and you have to get something done. But falls have been a big problem this past year in all industries. Deaths from falls from height are up across the board, which is really unsettling because they are very preventable, and it's very tragic to lose somebody from something like that.
And he probably climbed up that bin 1,000 times.
Exactly.
What could he have done to prevent it, or what can anybody do to prevent a fall like that?
Well, of course, it depends upon. I don't know the details of that particular incident.
I understand.
But bins. Thinking about how do you get up there, right? What does your ladder look like? Is it in good repair? Do you have a barrier around it? Or better yet, have you converted and put steps up the side of the bin so you don't fall from the ladder? Once you get on top, it's slippery and it's sloped. Can you tie off somehow so that you prevent a fall the full height of the bin? And that varies depending on what your bins are like. One challenge on farms is that not all bins have good anchor points for fall protection, which is a real problem for farmers who need to get up there and do some work. So it depends upon the particular circumstances. We encourage people to think through what their practices should be given the equipment and the structures on their own farm. And you're absolutely right. A lot of these activities are everyday kind of things or fairly frequent kind of things. You have to get up, climb the ladder and get up there and do something, do some maintenance. But we encourage people to try to say, okay, every single time you have to think through what that safety protocol is.
What are the most common types of on-the-farm injuries?
Falls are a big one. Tractor-related incidents remain a problem. In fact, in your region, in western Iowa, northwestern Iowa, southeast South Dakota, I think there have been 5 tractor-related. 4 of them were fatalities, and 1 was a serious injury from tractor rollovers. So we still see a lot of tractor rollovers that result in deaths because they don't have a rollover protective structure.
Sure.
Tractor. Livestock are an ongoing issue. It's hard to, they are still bigger and faster and sometimes meaner than we are. And so we see every year injuries from livestock. I would say those are probably the big 3.
From livestock, you're talking primarily cattle or horses or?
Cattle and horses more so than hogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hogs are tricky little suckers, though.
They are.
They'll knock you over. If they get you knocked down in a hog confinement,